to another PressPack Sessions in conjunction with 24/7 and the fantastic Phil Dexter, obviously you can't see because he's behind the camera. And we have Darren Johns and John Day from Crazy Arm.
Hello.
How you doing, fellas?
Very good, thanks.
So let's move on to the backstory then, because obviously I've known both of you for quite some time. Darren, you go back to, we were talking about the confrontation camp back in the PressPack Studios days, but how long has the band been together as Crazy Arm, and how did it formulate? Where did it come from?
We've been together about 5 or 6 years. The first year was didn't really mean much to us. It was just more fun, a side project, because I was doing the Once or Twice at the time. John and Simon were doing No Comply. They were doing really well, and we were doing okay. So for the first year, it was just something to do away from our day jobs. We didn't get a record out until 2009, so we were together for a few years.
The first 2 years were just literally jamming around in Plymouth.
Yeah, we did tour, but we didn't. We weren't focused enough to have a record out, and we were recording with the PMC to get the first album out, which never really materialised. We kept outgrowing the mixes we were doing, the songs, and we'd scrap songs. We were a band in progress really at the time, so we could never really settle on a bunch of songs for an album.
It often happens, I think. Anyway, it's like bands don't realise they're not ready until they go in the studio, and then all the warts come out, and you find yourself going, actually.
It's also because we did it over we were doing it as because we were doing it for free with Doc, as and when you could do it. So it lasted such a long time. From the songs that we recorded right at the beginning, by the time we got to the end, the songs at the beginning we'd changed a bunch in practice. So
or just completely cast off as
there's a lot to be said for momentum.
And which is a real shame that we moved. We recorded with Pete Miles, a friend of ours who moved down to Ashburton in his new studio. We decided that we needed to make that leap, that change, and unfortunately we had to scrap all the stuff with the PMC, or else we were never going to be happy.
You've got an album coming out called Union City Breath.
Our second record,
which is your second album. You did your first album with Peter Miles, who we briefly touched on. The man behind Sonic Boom 6 and King Blues.
Absolutely.
Doing very well on. And the first single is coming out in July. Is it in July?
Hopefully. It's all up in the air. We wanted the album to come out in June or July, but I think that was us being a little bit enthusiastic, over keen. And but it makes a lot of sense to do a proper campaign.
Yeah. Do
a good single. So the single will be July, and then the album hopefully will follow in.
And what's the single called?
Tribes. It's a two-part song. It's Tribes / Animals. It's got two distinct parts to the song. Two flavours to it. So it's what do you call that in the business? What do you call a two-part song? Two-parter, I guess.
Two-part song. I reckon that's alright. I think it explains itself. Let's not get all farty about it.
I'm sure there's a word for this kind of thing, but it wasn't written on purpose that way. It was two songs that just blended nicely. I like that change. I like that thing that Arcade Fire do when they do that lift and the tempo change.
Yeah.
And you don't expect it, but you love it after you've heard it. And I just think it was that influence on the song.
Yes. There's a distinct difference between this album and the previous album. For me.
Well, I'm glad you said that. You're the first person that's probably heard them back to back. I've not even played 2 albums.
Or even outside of people that know us,
or involved
in songs that way.
So it's nice to hear that you think that, because to me it was a worry that are we just retreading the same ground, or is it too much of a departure? But
it definitely sounds. My immediate impression, as you know, when you first started playing it to me, was that it sounds much more mature.
Yeah.
Sounds more folky. In places, or it's got folk connotations.
Yeah.
I hate pigeonholing stuff.
No, but
it's
nothing new.
Your earlier stuff was more like Foo Fighter-esque, that sort of, hard driven.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely a maturity that's come out of your voice as well, because you're not hitting the notes, you're not screaming. You're finally growing up, Darren.
Well, nearly. There's a few screams. I'm still holding on to a bit of my past.
But so was that intentional? And
nothing's been intentional with this band. That's been one of the criticisms of us in some reviews, is that we seem to be too sprawling, but that's what I love about the band. We have been pigeonholed now in a certain scene because of the bands like Gaslight Anthem and Frank Turner and Against Me. There's similarities, but only because we've arrived at the same points they have, not because we're trying to sound like these people. We've been playing music for years, but outside of this band and in this band. So it's just, we found this sound because it was just the music that we ended up playing. The reason why we have the country folk influence is because I started putting in my own acoustic songs into our set, didn't I? About a year in, because there was no other outlet for me to do it. I didn't want to do them on my own at the time. Now that we've got a fan base and people really know us up and down the country and in Europe, and we're doing all right, it's kind of like, we felt like the acoustic side of things, the country kind of influence that we always had, could be brought to the front a lot more. So it's just now, we just feel more comfortable. This album is a much more comfortable record for me and for us to do what the fuck we want, really, and if it means just doing a complete country song and then doing a hardcore song, so be it.
Well, it sounds more mature and more melodic music.
I think. The melodies have always been my thing anyway, regardless of any band. Even if I'm screaming, I've always been aware of the fact that it should be a melodic scream, not just a complete monotonic row, But I love those bands, and we all like bands like Tragedy and Sick of It, all these hardcore bands. I love to see them. I just don't want to do that.
On this album, has there been any weird recording techniques or instruments or things that you've done? Quirky things.
There's a lot more instrumentation. We've got fiddle, keyboards, Fender Rhodes and Hammond, kind of peppered throughout. Vicky Butterfield, who's been singing with us on stage quite a few times here and there. She's doing about 4 or 5 songs, not as a backing vocal, as a joint vocal with me. So there's some real nice kind of progressive tendencies on the record, which wasn't on the first record, and then the kind of rockier, heavier songs, more rocky and more heavy. It's kind of I like the extremes of it. It's much more an album of surprises and extremes than the first album, which was quite where you knew who you were. Even though a lot of people didn't think the first album was very cohesive. So people always ask us, is there pressure about recording an album that will match the first album because of the amount of good reviews we got for it. And I think that we never worried. There's no pressure to do that. It was just the pressure was just for us to make a great record.
To please yourself.
That's what it was.
I think that's the point.
And we've done that already. So now the pressure's off. The reviews are like, we'll be like a little bit nail bitey when it comes to what people are going to say, but the main pressure is now completely off. It's like we produce what we think is a better record and a different record. That's the thing, was not to follow the same template.
We're going to move into the gratuitous plug scenario. What was your first album called?
Born to Ruin.
There it is. On vinyl?
On vinyl in this case. It's a German import only, on a record label in Germany called Gunner Records.
Also available on a CD and digital download.
Via Extra Mile Records.
And the new album is called?
Union City Breath.
And it's out in September?
We hope. It's definitely, that's got to be the latest it'll be out. I mean, like I said, we wanted it earlier, but And the single to precede it will be in July, hopefully, and then another one in September with the record, with the album.
Excellent. Have you got a website?
Only the MySpace at the moment.
On the Facebook.
We're a bit of a letdown when it comes to websites.
Yeah.
MySpace and Facebook.
Have you got any tips for aspiring young artists that, because you've been in the industry for quite a few years?
Yeah, absolutely. Me more than him. He's done better than I have.
I think the classic thing that everyone says about just doing everything you get offered, like playing live. But then on the other hand, I think people should wait until they're at a certain level before playing live. Not like when bands when you watch a band just playing, they're just sat around tuning without tuners and
just spent a year longer in the practice.
Wait until you kind of at a respectable level, and then just play everything and hone it better.
Work hard.
And sort out personnel problems early on is my piece of advice.
Be open and honest.
Yeah, I'm not aiming to anyone, but I'm not saying it's about crazy arm. I just know my history of music. If you're not happy in a band because of someone or more than one, you have to change it. Or else you're not going to be enjoying your own music, and it can go on for years like that. If you're in a band, it's like in a relationship, a personal relationship. It's hard to be completely honest when you know it's going to create some kind of upset. It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
and it exists in bands, and it affects the music as the relationship is affected by the same kind of, procrastination.
Yeah,
you gotta. If you're a young band, I mean, maybe younger bands are a bit more tolerant with each other, and it's all a bit more fun, which is great, as it should be. But there's a point if you want to take it further. You gotta
work hard and be open and honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
That summed up.
Cheers, boys.
Fuck the man!
Nice to see you.
He's not over there, is he? Cheers, Joe.
Cheers.